Good morning, everyone. My name is Heidi Carr. I am thrilled to be your moderator this morning. And the session that you are currently in right now is using ChatGPT and AI in blended learning to solve real classroom challenges. And I'm thrilled that Charity Dodd will be sharing more information. With the release of AI for the masses, it's important we understand how to use it to positively enhance teaching and learning. In this session, we'll explore ChatGPT and other AI tools from a practical lens. We'll tinker and use these tools to solve pedagogical challenges and plan for blended learning. We'll also discuss both the technical and ethical considerations in using tools like these in the classroom. This session will be grounded in the Nevada Portrait of a Learner framework and competencies. So I'm so excited to have Charity Dodd teach us as we get to learn alongside her this morning.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. I am excited to talk about AI. If you were on the session before with Jason Green from Link, I work at Link, and we are all in supporting teachers and using AI to reduce teacher workload, number one. And then how can we incorporate that into the classroom with students? So I want to get started. We have a lot to cover. If you have any questions, please throw them in the chat, and I'm sure Heidi will help me keep track of that. So I'm going to, okay. So Heidi already talked about what we're talking about. So I do want to share though. So the Portrait of a Learner, your Portrait of a Learner for Nevada. So we're definitely going to talk about how some of this fits into what we're doing. And really, I think AI is going to really support teachers, educators to incorporate these core academic, your mindset and skills that you want to bring into your classroom. So it's really going to help educators think about, okay, how can I do this without having to do a whole lot of things to incorporate it? And I'm sure you're all doing it already. So I am not sharing my slides. I'm going to share my slides. All right. Thanks, Heidi. All right. This is your Portrait of a Learner. And I was a part of my own school building this Portrait of a Learner out, and it's very exciting to see this. But before we get started, I want to use this 6-word story. And so what I want to do is ask you to, in 6 words, in a sentence, describe AI's impact on future classrooms. So I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. And then I'm going to ask you to type it in the chat. And then I'm going to ask you to hit enter all at once. Okay. Okay, go ahead and type into the chat what you have and let it go. Yeah, go. Just everybody hit enter and let's see what people are saying. Oh, easy way to create lessons. I love that, Claude. Easy ways. Students will use it for everything. Oh, yes, Dr. Lindeman, engaging, informative. Yeah, so take a moment and look at what your colleagues have put in here. I love, oh, facilitate teacher preparation of new topics. Perfect. My daughter just started her, I have 7-word story. That's okay. My daughter just started her very first teaching job and she is completely overwhelmed. And I was like, listen up. She has to teach STEM. I said, ask ChatGPT how to help you teach this lesson. And how ask it even, you know, how should I present this to 6th and 7th graders? And she did that, and it was super helpful and less scary for her when she went to teach this. So thank you all. I'd like to learn about, yes, perfect. I love this. Thank you. Beautiful. All right. 6-word stories are always fun. And I tell you, the adults always have so much fun with it. We are going to go to, so I see some people aren't familiar with AI or don't know enough about it. I have a quick video that I want to show you that talks about this English teacher is talking about how she's using ChatGPT. This is a little bit, so in our world today, this is a little bit old, but it's not really that old. It just a couple months ago.
And nowhere has the AI had more of an immediate impact than in schools. Just this week, a study came out showing that ChatGPT has passed an MBA exam. Another study had it pass a law school exam. The question isn't if ChatGPT will have an effect on education. The question now is, what are schools going to do about it? And some teachers in schools have banned ChatGPT, thinking it's a cheating tool, like hiring someone to write an essay for you. But on the flip side, some others are saying that this is the new reality, whether we like it or not, and schools need to embrace it. Let's talk to one teacher who doesn't think ChatGPT should be banned. Sherry Shield is a creative writing high school teacher in Oregon who recently wrote an op-ed for Ed Week saying schools need to embrace, not ban, ChatGPT. Sherry, you are a teacher. Why do you think ChatGPT should not be banned?
Well, it's so helpful in so many ways. When it first came out, I made wide use of it before anybody said anything that I couldn't. So I started immediately seeing benefits to using it. It can generate educational content like nobody's business. It can create lesson plans. It can create study guides. It can create lists, thesis statements, all kinds of scaffolding for students, which is wonderful. I love how it works. Previous to this, generating lesson plans would take hours and hours of a teacher's time, and now it just takes minutes, and that frees teachers up to do other things, not to mention fewer hours at home working for no pay.
That's interesting. I mean, I think we've heard a lot of talk about ChatGPT with students, but not necessarily how teachers might be able to use it. So let me ask you this, which is you are in a school right now, and I just want to ask you about the impact that ChatGPT is actually having in a school. Are your students talking about it? Have you and your colleagues had to change any of the curriculum since ChatGPT has launched?
Yes, we've already had a couple of discussions about how to catch these procedures. One of the things was chunking our writing, so making writing smaller. Instead of requiring the typical 5-paragraph essay, we might work more with smaller bits of writing that happen directly in the classroom. I have this monitoring software where I can see what students are doing on their computers. So I can walk around with my laptop looking down to make sure that nobody's on ChatGPT writing up or using it to write the things that I'm asking them to write. I feel like it's very productive. You know, it could be very productive for students who need one-on-one tutoring. So I think it's most effective as a tutor for students, individual help with that writing work, actually.
Well, you mentioned it as a tutor, and I think there, you know, a tutor can help a student, or they can write a student's essay for them, right? Which is essentially cheating. Where do you think the line is with ChatGPT, where it might aid a student, as you say, or it might do the work for it?
Well, I think that is where the good teaching comes into play. Good teaching practices. You have to have discussions with students. You have to lay out the framework for students for good questioning. I think businesses and the workplace is going to change so dramatically. We're going to be asking AI questions, and I think that's what we have to teach students to do. We have to teach students to ask AI the right questions in order to get help with their work, not to do it for them. So teachers are going to have to provide more spaces for students to actually write in the classroom where we can oversee it. And then we take that writing and we say, now you can plug this into chat and you can get some personalized feedback. You can get help with sentence structure, organization, ideas and content. And what's really cool is it goes back into the student's writing and it says, this is where you did well, and this is where you need improvement. And then take the computers and make the students turn that off and say, now they've given you some hints, go ahead and rewrite this piece based on what you got. And that would take me hours and hours. You have to think that I have like 80 students, and if I get 80 pieces of writing, that's a week of my time before I can get that back to students. With chat, they can get instantaneous feedback on what is going on specifically with their writing, and they can get hopefully get some more time in the class to work on their specific issues. And that's where I think just the tip of the iceberg is where chat can help out in classrooms. And I think the key is monitoring, student use on the computer and having space and time for them to write without computers.
That's all from us. Don't forget to sign up for the Nightcap News.
All right, so I wanted to just share that from a teacher, actually like a high school English teacher, or just an English teacher, actually using ChatGPT when it first came out and people started using it and wondering what it was all about. So just wanted to share that. Hopefully that was insightful for you. All right. So today we're going to unpack a little bit about how to use AI in a blended learning environment. In part because blended learning also helps maximize the human part of the teacher, right? The teacher in the classroom. And because in part there are a lot of advantages to ourselves as educators and to our students. But first, so this is a teacher's average, maybe not even a whole day, but maybe someone says to you, or these are the things that you have on your to-do list. Make a personalized math lesson for Billy, a list of top AI education apps, draft an email invite to parents' night. If you have to, translate that to Spanish, generate a list of parent activities, create a presentation on our mission, review this plan and give me feedback. So maybe some of these are on your to-do list, right? ChatGPT or AI these are the things that's going to help. ChatGPT or AI can help with these types of things. And that's what we're talking about first and foremost, is supporting the teacher and creating things like this. You're one person in the classroom of 25 to 30 students and however many you have for that entire day. And by the way, if I can get this in the next, I don't know, half hour, 30 minutes, 2 hours, that'd be great, right? So how many of us have heard things like this or feel it? And by the way, this image on the right was generated by AI. It's called Stability AI. I'm going to share a couple of different tools with you. It's an image generating app. And the prompt here was frantic llamas Picasso style. And it took about 2 seconds to generate that. So very, very cool image generators that students can have a lot of fun with as well. Okay, so all of that we said in 10 minutes is impossible, right? Well, really what's happening right now is that is through the term generative AI, which those of you who are part of Link, we talk about generative learning. It's called generative AI because like generativity in humans and in the classroom, the AI is continuously learning, okay? So when we talk about generativity, if you hear the word generative AI, the AI is continuously learning and creating new outputs. So if you're just using ChatGPT and you're using on your computer and one account all the time, it's continuously learning from you and is storing that learning. So if you're talking about something over and over again, it's going to get to know you, and it's going to put different outputs based on what you put into it, and what you're asking it. All right. So I said I was going to show some examples, talk about some examples of this type of generative AI. So ChatGPT is certainly one. For images, that stability is what I used for the llamas. There's also Midjourney, which you would hear, you're probably hearing a lot about, or OpenAI's DALL-E 2. So it's another image generator. So they're pretty cool. If you haven't had a chance, you should definitely play around with them. Perplexity AI is very, very similar to ChatGPT, except it doesn't ask you to create an account. So if you would like to use this with your students and you haven't used ChatGPT with your students because you're worried about the privacy and security, you can use Perplexity, and I'll show you what that looks like. And then media. So if you want to create videos or your students want to create videos, I'm going to show you a couple examples. It's called Pictory and Lumen 5. Tome makes presentations. If you have Canva, if you're using Canva, it now has a magic AI generator, which is really magic. So I'm going to get out of my presentation here, and I want to show you. So Perplexity, this is the one, I'm going to put it in the chat so you have it. Let's see. This is Perplexity AI. Again, you don't have to create an account for this, which is wonderful when using with students. You can just ask it anything. And what some people like about Perplexity versus ChatGPT is Perplexity. So I'm going to say, I'm just going to choose one of these prompts down here. So history of Argentina. So it quickly gave me that output, right? So what it also does is it gives you links that actually work. So ChatGPT does not do that. It might provide you links, but they may not be real. They may be, they may not be. Perplexity, it actually, so if you go in here and read through this and you want to learn a little bit more about it, you can go to the links that it includes within the output. So, and then it gives you more related prompts. You can also, you can share this, you can copy the link to this. Another thing about this that I just found out, and I think they just added it, you can, this is free, by the way, you can upload a file. So I click on file and I can upload a file and put in there. And maybe ask, do whatever you want with it. Maybe ask to summarize it or ask to give feedback on it. So Perplexity is really, really cool tool. I prefer ChatGPT, but if I was working with some teachers in New York and they really wanted to use ChatGPT, but they were worried about the student privacy. So they introduced this to their students. I was going to show you a Pictory. Pictory is, you can create videos in here. Students can create videos in here. So there's different ways you can do that. You can, if you just have a script, so maybe your students wrote a story, okay, and they want to create a video. This is your tool. You can use an article, put it into a video. You can edit a video using text, or if you just have some visuals and you want to turn it into a video, you can use this. But let me show you real quick how to do this. So I just asked ChatGPT, I said, I'm going to show teachers how to use Pictory. Could you give me a short script that I can show them? And so it gave me this short little script. And so again, if you have students, if you want to create a video or your students created a story and they want to create a video, you just copy and paste your script here. Okay. And so what it's going to do is I'm going to say, okay, proceed. And I encourage you just to get on here after today and play around. And it's going to ask me what template I want to use. So I'm just going to choose this template. And it's going to ask you, do you want it wide? Do you want it for mobile? And now it's creating my story. Creating my scenes. And so here it took my script and put it into a scene. So each scene has its own video. And let's say so what it does is it highlights the things that it thinks is important, and it pulls those words and it grabs a video or images related to those words. So let's say I don't like this one, so I want to choose another visual. So I can type in here whatever I want, and it can grab a different visual for me. So let's say I want this one. All I do is click on it and it adds it. So when you're finished, you can download it. You can add audio. So if your students want to add background music, or if they want to add their own audio, the audio is so cool. So if I wanted to, let's say my students had their story and they wanted to create their video, and I want them as the teacher to narrate some of their project, some of their story. All they do on each slide is click on this record voiceover. They can click on it and they can record for that scene. And then it uploads automatically. Then you hit download and it makes the video, it ties the video all together. It's fascinating. All right. Any questions so far? How are we doing in the chat? Good?
Yeah, there's one question. Can you coordinate the lyrics of a song to this app?
And help me understand your ask so I can help you answer it.
If I have a song and I type in the lyrics, can I coordinate the soundtrack to those lyrics so I can teach my choir with the lyrics up on the screen? Coordinated with the music?
Yeah, so yes, you absolutely can. Once you get your video complete, it will let you make adjustments, kind of like an iMovie or another tool that you can adjust. But yeah, absolutely. Yes, you can copy and paste a story that students wrote in here, just like I did. So here's my story. You can add scenes, you can delete scenes, you can add different elements, text, different visuals, just amazing. So I did not add the breaks in the story myself. So what I did is I went to Pictory and I said, I want to create a video from script. And I just copied my script right into Pictory. Okay, I just copied it and it separates itself. Yes, Pictory does require a login, but it doesn't ask for the personal information like a ChatGPT does. All right, so then what I said was, okay, proceed. You pick the template and it separates it for you. But you can make those, you can adjust in there as well. It's a really, really cool tool. So we could spend all day. There's another one called Lumen 5. That's very much like Pictory. So there's two different tools. Link, we are creating an AI tool specifically for educators. It's coming out soon. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a little bit. Your Way, but if you go to yourway.com, and I'm going to put the link in here. If you just type in your email, those we've been sharing this all over social media, but if you want to put your email in, we will notify you immediately when our tool is available. And then you'll be the first to try it. So would love for you to sign up, and I'll show you a little bit about that soon. All right, let's get back into. I hope you're all excited about what's possible with AI and what's possible to reduce your workload and get your students excited. All right, so we're going to talk about using AI in a blended learning classroom. So before we jump into that, let's remember the why behind blended learning. So over here on the left, right, we mentioned that blended learning models to make the most of technology, we get more time with our students, right? More time to build connections. When we do blended learning correctly, we get more time to focus on things like SEL, right? Social emotional learning is really important. To support them when they get stuck, to differentiate and make adjustments in the moment. So this is not blended learning, right? This is not the connections we want to make. We don't want to just pour knowledge into our students. And when we do blended learning in a transformative way, we are leveraging technology to personalize and to give students increased control over their learning. So in other words, it doesn't look like this, right? So blended learning is just because we have technology, that's not blended learning. But what it really looks like is more this. The student is free, or the teacher is more free to work with their students and give them more support. And with the help of AI, we can do more personalized lesson planning. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. If anybody has ever read the book Blended Learning in Action from Catlin Tucker, Jason Green, who was just on here, and the other founder of Link, Tiffany Wyckoff, we say that when done effectively, blended learning gets us more time with our students to connect and engage using, this is called the PAC. So that's from the book Blended Learning in Action, with higher agency, more authenticity, more connectivity, and creativity. All right, so the blended learning models we're going to talk about today are station rotation, whole group rotation, flipped lesson, and a playlist. So how could we use a tool like ChatGPT or one of the other AI tools that I showed you just recently to deepen our PAC learning opportunities and solve real classroom challenges? Let's take a look. Let's take a look into the first, an example problem here. We have student engagement, right? Student engagement is always when we ask, what problem do you want to solve? I want my students to be engaged. It is among the top 3 challenges reported by educators. So we all struggle to engage our students because our students are not engaged in the same way, right? By the same content or by the same experience. And so when they're not engaged, are they really learning? So one way to increase student engagement is to make learning more relevant to them, whether through understanding and connecting with their interests or by making learning more culturally relevant. So let's talk about first the station rotation model. Let's look at how to make learning more relevant through a station rotation using AI tools. So, and I said before, we're going to talk about how this relates to a portrait of a learner. So in your portrait of a learner, one of the components is connecting, collaborating towards a common goal. Station rotation is a perfect example of how students can make connections or collaborate towards a common goal, improve communication. So in this example, I have a project-based learning in effect in my station rotation. So at my teacher station here, which I can either be at or have ChatGPT or Perplexity be my sub, while I myself check in with students at various stations. So I could have students using ChatGPT with me on their own to brainstorm project-based learning ideas that are relevant to them and that interest them. This could be a prompt. So the way we prompt AI is also important. We don't expect teachers or students to be prompt engineers, which is a new job, by the way, prompt engineers. We could have a prompt like, act as a teacher and help me generate ideas for middle school history projects that incorporate X interests, art, sports, poetry, and Y objectives. Include some essential questions and ideas for how students could demonstrate learning in a creative way. So this is the prompt we're giving to our chat. Then I can have my students use an AI tool like Pictory or Lumen 5 that I showed you right here in the digital creativity station, collaborating on a presentation or creating a video. And then collaboration part comes in because I have students at a station where they can collaborate. They can be using an AI tool there, or they can just collaborate on offline. Doesn't have to be online. So remember that the station rotation can take place. We talk about station rotation, and for high school teachers, it seems a little bit, you're crunched for time a little bit. So it can take place over several class periods or days. So think about how you might spread that out over a couple of days. It doesn't have to be jammed into one period. So I want to show you, not sure how well you can see this, but this is the prompt that I put into ChatGPT, and it said, sure, here are some essential questions that your students can explore in their projects. So it gave me some essential questions. And then it said, here are some ideas for how your students can demonstrate their learning. So it gave me a list of ideas. But see how this can be really helpful to our students as they're thinking about, help me think of an idea. I don't know, we've all had that, students wanting to ask you all the time, you're one person. Maybe they go to ChatGPT or Perplexity and start generating ideas, right? And this is what we got when we dropped this into ChatGPT. I'm going to see, I have some. Tara, that's funny. I love it. Swimming with so many ideas. I can't wait to have time for you to share those amazing ideas. All right, flipped learning. We all probably did some kind of flipped learning during COVID. So how can I use AI to create more engaging, authentic learning for my students? So here is a flipped lesson generated by ChatGPT's. By my prompt from ChatGPT. So it created a flipped lesson for me. Students will watch or read a text introducing the topic of cultural diversity. They will be assigned a specific culture or country to research. So that's before class. Then it's given me my in-class ideas. and it's including how I might use AI. So again, thinking about ChatGPT or Perplexity. After class, students will use ChatGPT to complete an extension task. So this created a flipped lesson for me, and I guarantee it was within seconds. Maybe I didn't like the first outcome, but that's okay. I can prompt this again. This doesn't seem creative enough. Can you make it more creative or something like that? So again, here's what it looks like pre-class. So a flipped learning. During class, they are bringing what they found out from their free class work. And this is where, again, we're bringing in our portrait of a learner and showing how we're building communication here, right? And then during class, so this is another thing teachers are doing. So students are getting an output from ChatGPT or Perplexity, and then they're asking students to write a critical review of it. Do you think this is right? Do you think this is wrong? What do you think about what ChatGPT gave you? So, and also during this time, the teacher is free to do some individual coaching with their students. All right. Yes. Awesome. Love it. Okay. Another challenge reported is that students, we all know this, right? Our students are on all different levels, especially after the pandemic when they came back, right? How can I differentiate instruction for my students? So we're going to talk about using a playlist model. So first of all, you as a teacher can use ChatGPT to create differentiated playlists for your students. If you input the objectives of each, so you could say, I need 3 different levels of this. So you could input a lesson and you could say, I need 3 different levels. My students, I have 2 students at this reading level, or whatever it is. You can even say, this student has this disability and I need a lesson plan that will be helpful for this student. So using ChatGPT is just the tip of the iceberg, and using a tool like Your Way, like Link is going to release, we actually will have on the back end, do you want to do a station rotation? Do your students have any disabilities? Things like that. So it's going to be super helpful. So when you're in the playlist mode, you can see how the activity can flow between group activities in blue and individual activities in pink. So this might be me, the whole class in the beginning, introducing the lesson, talking about their playlist. So maybe I have 3 different levels in my class. ChatGPT helped me create 3 different playlists for differentiated needs. And then the students are working individually on their own playlist. And then in a small group instruction, I can pull students to give feedback, to reteach, to see where they are in their projects, whatever it is that I need. And we're flowing through this. So maybe we need to come back as a whole group, or maybe they're just working on their playlist the whole class until the end. And so this is an example flow that a playlist model. And going back to our portrait of a learner, this is where you're really empowering students with a playlist model to take more ownership of their learning, balancing, trying to get right a balance between how much time do I spend on this assignment? I have due dates that I need to complete. So lots of empowerment here with our students. So this playlist model is, maybe I generate a list of questions related to the objective, but for a topic of interest. Answer the questions generated and get get feedback from ChatGPT. So you heard the teacher on the video. You can input, so you can copy and paste your own writing, have students do that, put it in ChatGPT and ask for specific feedback. So, maybe there's very specific feedback. You could even have them copy and paste a rubric and say, grade this based on this rubric. So lots of good things. On their playlist, it might say you need to make sure that you check in with the teacher to see, so the teacher can see where you are. Another thing on the playlist, write your own set of questions related to the concept that you're teaching. And then another part of the playlist could be use Pictory to create a video. So that's a playlist. You can require your students to do this in the direct order, or you can say, you can choose, you can give them more ownership and say, choose in what order you do this. And so that's a playlist. I love a playlist model. All right. I just want to show you here a little bit more about the station rotation. So if you, so many times when I talk to teachers about creating a station rotation, we don't know what stations to create, right? Or we don't have time to create these different lessons at the station, or we feel like overwhelmed by it. You can ask ChatGPT, say, act as a teacher. By the way, the act as is a great way to start your prompt. Act as a 7th grade math teacher and incorporate ChatGPT into a station rotation blended learning lesson for math. So then it gives me my different stations. You can even say, here are my standards. I want you to incorporate the standards. And I also want you to create a formative assessment. It will do all that for you. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let's see. I want to make sure we're running out of time. Let's go to, I'm going to see what we have in our chat. We have any questions right now? This is awesome. All right. So another pedagogical challenge.
I do have a question. Will there be a transcript of this so that we can go back and see it, or will there be a recording that we can check out? And because so many great ideas, missing some of them, I think.
All sessions are being recorded throughout the day, and they will be posted in the next few weeks on that Canvas page that you guys are all using. So when you see the sessions underneath it, there's a thing in bold that says session recording that will be uploaded with the link in the next few weeks.
Will there be a transcript available as well with all these resources, or no?
No, some presenters have shared their slides. If you have questions, I would also talk to Department of Ed.
Okay, cool.
If you guys have any more questions, try to use the chat
Yeah,
feature.
that's great. Thank you. Thank you for the questions. Let's see. Let me go into, so we talk about how can I answer questions for everyone at once. So let's talk about a whole group rotation. And I love introducing the whole group rotation to as a gateway into a station rotation. So especially at the high school level, we don't really do I used to be a high school teacher. We don't do the station rotation like really like the elementary and middle school teachers don't so much as the elementary. So let's say you're having students work a little bit online, then maybe you have some offline work, whether independently or in groups. Often during this time, the teacher runs around like a mobile coaching station, or perhaps you can pull students individually or in small groups. But what if you had an AI spin on ask three before me? So we know ask three before me. Students are always wanting to ask the teacher questions, right? And so we say ask three before me. So let's talk about that. So what if you had like a station where you have just a few computers logged in for class accounts for ChatGPT, if you just want to use your account because your students are too young. I don't know what the age is now. I thought it was 18, but it might be 13. I'm not sure. Or you could just use Perplexity. Students could ask the chat if they could ask the chat questions if they got stuck, if you're not available. They may not always be successful in asking ChatGPT, but that will give them a resource besides saying, and I've been waiting on you. I've been waiting on you. We've all been there, right? And so you would also, so if you have that couple computers set up with a class login for ChatGPT, you could also, if you would say, okay, this is the station where you go to if you have questions. You would also have a log, because with ChatGPT, if you haven't used it, it keeps a history of all of your chats here. So it would keep a log of all of the questions that students are asking. So you might, that might be a good example to see what they're struggling with. So that's a good spin on ask three before me. All right. So I talked about, hopefully you all got the Your Way login to be able to get first access to our AI tool. It's going to be, we are going to have a chat section like ChatGPT or Perplexity, where you can still chat with it, but you're also going to have different tools you can use, like a lesson planner or an assessment creator or a rubric creator. There will be things in there like communication, so writing letters to parents. There'll be a lot of different tools in there that's going to really help with prompts in there. So you don't have to be a prompt genius. It's going to have things in there to help guide you in what to ask. So it's going to be a fun, really helpful tool. And this tool will only be for teachers. It won't be for students. Also, individualized learning support. So helping with IEPs and different things like that. So just take you through like what the lesson planner is going to look like. It'll say, select a standard or curriculum, describe the lesson you want. It might ask you what goals. It might ask you, do you want to use a blended learning model, for example? And then it will give you a lesson plan, and then you'll have an option to download it, put it in, export it to docs, download a PDF, or start over. So lots of different fun things that you'll have with this tool that hopefully you had a chance to sign up for. All right, so we were definitely bombarded with a lot of different things. I apologize for throwing all those at you, but also I wanted you to be aware, like there's so much out there. These are tools that I've tested and tried, and other teachers have tested and tried. I think they're wonderful. So we talked about what is AI going to do to the future of education. One thing it's not going to do is it's not going to replace the teacher, because there's ChatGPT. AI cannot do certain things that teachers can do. And I grabbed these from an Ed Week article: teaching critical thinking, building relationships, motivating students, creating a positive learning environment, providing high quality feedback on student performance, attending to students' basic needs. So those things definitely are not going to come out of any type of AI. So we hear people say, is AI going to replace me? It is not. And I've also heard, this is just everywhere, not teachers. So is AI going to replace me? No, AI is not going to replace you. It will replace the person. You will be replaced by the person who's using AI. And that's not to say educators, that's to say, in general, we need to use this just like we use Google. And it's going to be so helpful for the teacher who's especially burnt out. All right. Let me get to here. This has been amazing. I talked at you a lot today, but we had a lot of information to talk about. I'm going to stop sharing. And we have a few minutes left. Are there any questions? Any just feedback?